The Seattle Times seems pretty upset that Seattle is clearing out homeless encampments, and the mayor is giving off the illusion of a homelessness plan. Both claims are nonsense. Welcome to the Jason Rantz Show, presented by None Better Tax Resolution. Project Homelessness at the Seattle Times says Mayor Bruce Harrell is clearing a record number of homeless encampments. The city claims the number of tents in the city went from 1,558 to 215. Now that number is a little bit dubious, but it's definitely gone in the right direction. Here's the rub. Homelessness is going up, and we're losing shelter space. Now, the implicit argument from the Seattle Times is that we should stop clearing homeless encampments because there's nowhere for the homeless to go. This is, of course, treacherously misleading. It is a bad argument, and it's one that the left has been pushing for years. The problem has been pretty simple. We let the homeless say no to offers of a shelter because they know they can get away with it just by moving to another part of Seattle and camp out there. Now, the Harrell plan is aware of that going on, and they're stepping up efforts to essentially harass homeless into saying yes for shelter care. We've increased how often shelter beds are being offered. But the number of people saying yes has dropped since 2023. This is in large part due to a partial homelessness plan that should be leveraging jail time for homeless lawbreakers. We should be giving people two options. You go into shelter where you get treatment for the underlying cause of your homelessness, or you go to jail for violating the law. But the Harrell plan says that they can just go somewhere else, albeit there are higher chances they're going to be hassled and swept again. Now, the Seattle Times notes that some 95% of shelter space is full. It's a deceptive claim. We could be moving them into shelter space outside of Seattle, but activists, including those at the Times, don't like that as a strategy. But here's the larger problem. One reason why beds are full is that the homeless are in them longer because they're waiting for permanent supportive housing. That's the biggest failure for the Harrell administration. Permanent supportive housing doesn't actually work because you're not addressing the underlying reason for the homelessness. We shouldn't want them to be in free housing permanently. They weren't born homeless. They became homeless. And while the Times and like-minded activists want you to think that these are people who just got pushed out due to housing affordability, the reality is we're dealing with massive drug and mental health crises. Now, these people are waiting for permanent housing. Well, while they're doing that, you know what they're not doing? They're not required to get treatment for whatever that underlying cause of the homelessness is. And that, unfortunately, is because of low barrier admittance to the shelter space. The left's current homelessness plan just creates a new crisis, a lack of permanent supportive housing. And that's even more expensive to operate than the entire homelessness plan as it exists now. But you know who gets rich? The ones working in the homeless industrial complex. So here's an idea. Invest in treatment and temporary subsidized housing to help get people back on their feet and then ultimately live without us paying for their rent or health care. Controversial, I know. I sat down with our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn from None Better Tax Resolution. Tell me a little bit about the Fresh Start program, because again, based on how it's promoted, it seems really, really simple.
This Fresh Start program and that phrase has been around for many, many, many years now. But it's a great marketing tool to say, hey, fresh start. And in a way, for those that qualify, it is. What it essentially is an offer in compromise. And to get that, there's two main criteria a person must qualify for. One, they must have limited or no equity in assets. So generally, anyone in the Puget Sound region that owns a home and has for several years, they're going to have a lot of equity. They won't qualify. And the other is an income level. And that all depends upon your family size about how much income that could be. But both of those standards need to be met to qualify. Most people do not.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, then call Greg Nunn of None Better Tax Resolution. From stress to success with IRS Solutions. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN, None Better Tax Resolution. Did you like that commentary? Make sure you subscribe to the podcast of The Jason Rantz Show. Get it at KTTH.com or wherever it is you download your podcasts.